Ever since they buffed Viessa this season, she's become super strong, top tier, and extremely fast. But what's really cool is you can make her like DC Comics flash fast by using the core unlock system on the Clairvoyance, which pairs up perfectly with her absolute zero setup. She becomes a speed demon, clocking in at max 1300 sprint speed. You're gonna want to take a look at this warlock. Let's do this.
Wait, did we just become best friends? So nice to meet you. I think you're cool.
Many of you already know that Viessa was buffed and now brought to the forefront. But even more recently, they brought us this weapon core unlock system. And I did a rundown on the weapons that stood out from the bunch to make something really unique. And one of those weapons is the Clairvoyance. She's not much of a shooter, really. So it becomes more of a stat stick. This particular stat stick got 2 precision augmentation core slots, as well as a free augmentation core slot, which allows you, if you want to, put up to 3 sprint speeds on the weapon. And that's exactly what I've done. So for the Clairvoyance, I have chill, rounds per magazine, firearm attack, and then bonus firearm attack against Colossus. It's not really the damage that comes out of the weapon that I'm really focused on. It's the debuff that the weapon does. Hitting an enemy with a stage 2 beam inflicts void gaze on the target. And then hitting an enemy with a 3-stage beam inflicts applied calling. Void gaze is going to debuff the enemy for 2 seconds and reduce their chill resistance by a total of 40%. Applied calling does the same, but also throws in some action speed reduction. So that's it, simple: point, shoot, debuff. The stats aren't horrible. It comes with a base 20% crit hit rate and 2x crit damage, but the reality is that Viessa's skills are so strong and the uptime is so good that you really don't have time to shoot. You're striking with those skills and taking them out. They buffed the weapon, so they got one of those elements. And of course, it's going to be chill attack at 2539. What I did with the core system is I added 2 sprint speeds in the rutile slots, a faster reload, a chill attack for the element, and then for the bonus free slot, I put more sprint speed. Now with the 3 sprint speeds, it does technically take you over the ceiling, which is 1300. So if you wanted to, you could take off the sprint speed from the free slot and put on a decrease in her grappling hook cooldown, except a lot of her skills are ground attacks, so you're not doing a ton of grappling here. And the inversion reinforcement plays a role. If you use the first one here, you're going to get more movement speed by 16% with the cooldown for 20 seconds. So it's going to come and go, but that does take you to cap. I tried putting on just 2 sprint speeds on the weapon and then running this, and it worked fine. In the end, I decided to stick with RK Boost for the season modifier, because in the end, this is more valuable than what I can host for that free slot on the weapon, because she doesn't shoot enough to put anything else there. So this gives me more skill cooldown, range, and damage, and I have maximum uptime on my sprint speed instead of relying on the inversion buff, which has a cooldown. So I hope that explains my thinking, but there's no wrong answer. I'll walk you through the entire build, but before I do, real quick, they're going to give us the next 10 stages here on Thursday for the Void Purge. And that's going to allow us to get better stats through the core system, so we can push up our sprint speeds even higher. And since there's a cap on sprint speed of 1300, once we get the new stats, I will probably end up changing out that sprint speed on the free slot for something else. And then in March, we're going to get another buff to the stats because we're going to get another 20 levels. That's with season 3. So my point is, in the near future, you're going to have more flexibility to stick with only 2 sprint speeds here and still reach cap, because we're just under. We're at 1,275, give or take, with the way this is rolled and not being perfect. And then this one takes me to 1,300 plus, which is cap. For the tactical augmentation, I went with reload time modifier, but rounds per magazine is also a really good choice. This is how I have my setup. My goal here is to have a very long duration when firing. Otherwise, I have the basic damage mods, and I have chill enhancement. I have rounds per magazine, charge amplification for base damage. I didn't put on any crits here. And I got chill priority, super cool plasma. So when hitting the same target, you're gonna not only increase your chill attack, but also decrease their defense, so another debuff. And then I'm running Snowflake Conductor for additional firearm attack because I am applying frostbite to my targets. Snowflake Conductor isn't for the Colossus fights, it's more for mobbing. That's the setup there. Let's look at Viessa's setup. This is built around Absolute Zero, which is my new way to run Viessa, my favorite way. If you watched my Infernal Walker Colossus build for her, then you'll see here that not much has changed on this front. Although all Descendants benefit from speed, I think she gets a little more practical use case out of the speed boost, more than others. That's because of Absolute Zero and Frost Roads. So while in Frost Roads state, she creates ice sheets on the ground, and crits will inflict frostbite on enemies that come into contact with the ice sheets. So part of her buff to her kit in this season was to Frost Roads. So notice she gets a 40% movement speed increase. Because she's running so fast at max speed, she can weave through the enemies and they have a really hard time tagging her. She's clearing so many enemies without even using any of her other skills. Frost Roads alone, she's spreading it all over the place and dodging shots. Before they buffed her, before her speed buff, and before I applied this speed boost, Frost Roads for me was sort of just all right. I mean, I liked the idea. For the most part, targets were always in front of me, and so I was always taking them down before the Frost Roads would even get to them. So with the speed boost, I really feel like I'm getting way more out of the Frost Roads than I ever did before. And that's what's unique here, thanks to the core system. All of the Descendants could use a speed boost. The faster you are, the more survivability you have. But her, the faster she moves, the more damage she's putting out, just like Bunny. And even in 400% dungeons, her Frost Roads with this setup is annihilating them. I am max crits on her. We're at skill insight, skill concentration, emergency measures, and frontline. So we have all 4 crit mods on her. I went with nimble fingers, 2 focus mods. So focus on singular and focus on chill. So because of Absolute Zero, all of her skills are chill singular. So it makes it really easy to build on her. So a lot of builds are gonna look very similar to this. And most builds usually have 1 or 2 flexible slots that you can adapt to the content or your play style. So all I did is simply synergize those flexible slots with Frost Roads with the speed buff coming from the Clairvoyance. So I can get more use out of her Frost Roads. I gotta say, it feels really good to play into range with her Frost Roads when boosting her speed. So speed plus Frost Roads plus range with crits is a really good formula. It's making the Frost Roads spread everywhere. So we have maxed out our crits with this setup, and we've maxed out our sprint speed with the setup, hitting at a skill crit hit damage of 4x, skill critical hit damage and singular skill boost. And I'm running 4 pieces of Puller Knight. And I run this for mobbing. I actually really like this with her. Does anybody else, or is it just me? Of course, you can go Slayer, but this brings some unique things to the table besides just damage. So you're getting the chill skill power, and she's not super glassy. Notice she's almost 11,000 in her HP. But for each frostbite stack inflicted upon enemies, remember her Frost Roads is putting enemies into frostbite status. It's gonna give her 6% more crit hit damage, stacking up to 10 times for 5 seconds. So that's 60% potentially at a 30% chance. When defeating an enemy inflicted with frostbite, it's going to inflict additional damage equivalent to 12.2% of her max HP on other enemies within 2.5 meters, also at a 30% chance. That's happening passively because Frost Roads is putting them into frostbite and it's killing them. So it's spreading to enemies that don't even touch the Frost Roads. So I just really like it. But if you don't want to run this, go with Slayer and make sure you have all your MP attributes. So I hope you dig this combo. Let me know what you think. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'm Tuxedo Bandido. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on the good stuff I have coming for you. And if you like content like this, be sure to check out the video I have recommended for you right here. If you have anything you would like me to cover, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make things possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be the same without you.
When you buy or download anything for the First Descendant, be sure to use Tux's creator code to support the channel. Easy peasy.
Wait, did we just become best friends?